that we're not aware of.
Well, we'll have to see. I think the draft seems to have started, but we'll see as we are going to pop in King on the blue side for this first game. OMG on the red. A Narban there for King. A Malco there for OMG. And as you can see, Cool is sitting in the jungle spot and Loveling sitting in the mid lane spot.
Yeah, certainly are. So we'll have to see whether that was just a little bit of a confusing mix-up or whether Cool will take that smite and wander around with maybe a jungle Karthus.
Well, we're still seeing cool bans here by King. LeBlanc does get taken away as OMG going to consider their next man. They've clearly started. Their analysts are talking to them, so whatever they're doing, they've done it intentionally, you have to think.
They are sitting in the right spots.
That's
they're just
true.
in the wrong spots in the champion
Maybe
slot.
they're just sitting in the wrong spots there, which is very naughty. That will confuse us, of course, but still fine here as you see the Cho'Gath ban away from Assassin. Very smart stuff has been, along with Wayless, one of the best-looking AP mid Cho'Gath players.
Yeah, and the thing about that ban is that it's just way too much kill potential at level 6, and mid is a very volatile lane at the moment. So if you're able to get that first kill with Cho'Gath, you really do get out of control, and it becomes way too big in the late game to deal with, both physically and metaphorically.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, Cho just so good at helping. I think when you transition, you're so good at protecting your AD carry as well. So there's a good mix to like. It makes sense why it's popular in China. Ari, the last ban there for King away from Cool again, makes sense again. Unless we do have more shenanigans. And OMG going to look for one more ban here.
Yeah, of course, they're two must bans against the mid lane Loveling. Just so good at those champions. But the thing I love about Cho'Gath at the moment is he's kind of the Viger of this patch. He has one of those abilities in his W that you just don't expect on a new kit. That AoE silence really messes with a lot of champions, how they go through their spell rotations, and it's very frustrating to play against.
Yeah, it does great damage, cast instantly. Yeah, it's kind of an old school ability like the old Vega Event Horizon, but it's been used to great effect here as OMG last ban the Heck Room here, and King can have to consider what they want. Lysandra is open most notably, but other than that, very open. I think the other thing as well, Thresh is open there, they hover, and they do take it away.
Kalista open here. See if Uzi takes that one away for himself. Rek'Sai going through for Cool in the Loveling in the jungle. And we'll see exactly what the response here is. We've seen a lot of Graves played into Kalista. That seems to be the answer. But Nidalee being locked in.
Yeah, I mean, Nidalee, wait a second. I was about to say Nidalee, Rek'Sai, probably the two best junglers on this patch. Wouldn't be surprised to see them take one of them away. They have both of them now.
Yeah, exactly right. So, and this is the thing. I have a theory on top lane Rek'Sai that it's not as bad as people make out, but mid Nidalee has also been seeing a little bit of play. So see if that is the case.
Yeah, so Assassin quickly flash a Yasuo. That's actually not a bad counter against Nidalee. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still quite good. I think Nunu's already been locked in, so King, Lulu as well. Jeez, that smells one thing here. Juggermore, anyone?
Yeah, it seems to definitely be a possibility coming through. And Wuxian, of course, wouldn't be surprised if... I want to see the Juggermore played with the Kalista. Because Kalista, of course, does very well with on-hit, has a lot of damage that can come through and is a very good solo carry, and Wuxian plays it well. So I think even if the Kog'Maw is picked away here, they have another bow, like another ace there. I think that Juggermore, very good with Kog'Maw, don't get me wrong, the hardest scaling carry in the game, probably behind Twitch, because Twitch's AoE is just so good. But I think it is playable with other carries.
Yeah, I think so too, and I would have actually expected a Kalista pick up here by OMG, but they're mixing it up quite a bit here. Victor actually going to come in. I think that might be... You know, I'm not going to talk about it right now because we have a lot of champions in interesting spots, but Sivir there for Uzi. This is a very specific comp by OMG.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's a very confusing comp because so far they're extremely squishy, extremely short range against what is going to be a hyper carry AD in Jinx.
I mean, there's Jinx, like you mentioned, being picked up. It's not the Kog'Maw, not Kalista. All would have been fine here in this comp that King have put together. They're clearly looking for something here as their last pick. Lamb flashes a couple champions. I think he's mashing the random button right now. Let's just give them 5 more seconds. That's about how long they've got. And I think we might have broken our analyst.
Surely it has to be a Morgana. How do you run a protect the AD carry comp without the Black Shield? It is not going to be. It's going to be an Ezreal. And Cloud locks in Sona. I have no idea who won Champion Select. Let's see.
Well, I mean, Cloud clearly comfortable, at least on the Sona. Going to take it here again. Thresh picked away. Apparently, the correct pick is Sona.
Yeah, exactly right. Apparently it wins the lane with the, 210 base health or whatever Sona brings to the table currently. But you know what? Very interesting lineup coming through here. It's going to be a top Rek'Sai. So my suspicions are correct that it is a strong pick, and I really want to see what OMG can do with a very fun lineup.
Yeah, just to quickly note as well, Cool and Loveling were just in the wrong places in the lobby. So that'll be fun for us. But we do, of course, have Loveling in the jungle on Nidalee, and Cool will be taking Victor.
Yeah, and I definitely think Nidalee is a really strong jungler, but there we see Rek'Sai in the top lane going to pick that one up.
And I like the whole, I like picking those champions away on the red side, but I guess the problem is, where do they actually go? I think you guys discussed it in the last series that theoretically this could work, and OMG are going to try it here. There's Loveling, of course, up against the Nunu this time. Haven't seen this too much from MLXG, but Nunu this week especially seems to be very popular.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think he's only going to get stronger as we go through patches. We've seen the double AD run into the Victor. Don't think it is in the double AD's favor. Cool going to have a good time in that matchup.
I think I like the Ezreal pick, but you're right, it's a bit awkward just as far as matchups go. We look through, of course, Jinx versus Sivir, a really interesting matchup. That's actually not good for Uzi and Cloud. They're apparently just picking all bad matchups in the bottom lane because he's playing Sona into Thresh.
Yeah, exactly right. And this was the original counter matchup that we saw come through for a lot of Sivir games at the start of the season. Jinx, that hyper carry, does extremely well.
Well, we'll see how Jinx really does because we're going to get straight onto the Rift. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're in the LPL here as King take on OMG, but we've entered Bizarro LPL today here. Cool and Loveling are in the wrong spot, so playing the right roles. Cloud's picking Sona. People are playing double AD in their Juggernaut comps. Spawn, not too sure what's going on, but we're about to find out.
Yeah, exactly right. And we saw an opportunity for the Juggernaut to come through, and then they ran 2 AD carries. So maybe just not trusting Lucian to get ahead. A second option for all these augmented, I guess, supports to focus.
I mean, just looking at King's lineup here, actually, they have a really fast push-centric double AD comp. So there's actually a lot going on here. It's obviously not to protect the hyper carry. It's a bit more of let's get ahead and start snowballing and really pushing down turrets.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, and I think that the fast push is what you call out here. Jinx, extremely long range, has the minigun as well to tear through turrets. And, of course, when you bring so many ranged, I guess, people into a team fight, into a composition with a Nunu who can buff any of them, it really is good news to be able to push down those structures.
Yeah, good stuff there as well. And I mean, Ezreal Essence Flux helping out, Nunu Blood Boil, Lulu for Disengage. You can definitely see what King's Comp does here. Even Thresh actually is pretty good in any sort of siege situation. That's the big difference though for OMG here. They took away Nidalee Rek'Sai. We've started seeing both those junglers be so strong, but one of them's in the jungle, and like you mentioned, Rek'Sai in the top lane for Go Going.
Yeah, and has gone with a Doran's Blade, so an aggressive start coming out of Go Going. Want to see what the build is. If it is the Ravenous Hydra, just split push all day, be obnoxious, try and push down structures Rek'Sai, or whether he goes for a more team fight centric build.
Well, I know that you mentioned, top Rek'Sai theoretically makes a perfect amount of sense. What is it about the champion that you like in that lane?
Perfect thing about the champion is you put a tunnel at your turret, and you get as many free teleports back to your lane without actually having to use your teleport. It's just such a good, I guess, laning tool. Once level 6 hits, you use your first one, to your first teleport at about level 4, doesn't affect the dragons, and we see actually a good counter jungle coming through from MLXG and Sky.
Yeah, really nice actually, taking away the red buff there, teaming up and eating that away. Loveling's going to be forced out of his jungle, started Krugs, but obviously going to get denied his red buff. Go Going, by the way, jungling with the Doran's Blade currently on Rek'Sai.
Yeah, so Rek'Sai clears the jungle extremely healthy with a Poacher's Knife, so not Hunter's Machete, so not really worried about jungling there. Is Go Going. The one thing about that invade is it won't set Loveling too far behind because his duo is on the bottom side of the map. We'll just be able to rotate in there. And Patient time, we're seeing so many fast pushes at the moment in the LPL. Once again, neither team electing to freeze. They're really going for this push. They're stacking the top wave, so they'll have 2 waves hit at the same time and bringing up the Lulu and the Nunu. No, they're actually going back into the jungle, so maybe not fast pushing as much as Uzi and Cloud, who have chunked out that turret already.
Yeah, for anyone who remembers the old 3-man, 3-minute tower dives, it's sort of an extension of this, where everyone's just like, you know what, don't really like getting tower dive, I'm just going to leave the lane instead. But the fast push element of the comp still works.
Yeah, exactly right. And we see there is a ward at the red buff, so they will know the timing for that, Will King, and they're flying through this jungle pretty quickly. First Dragon will go over to OMG, as well as probably first turret, because Wushin's only really started on that one, and it's nearly still at full health in the top lane. So you have to say OMG playing this fast push style a little bit better than King.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with all those swaps happening as well, although both Sivir and Jinx are tearing through their respective turrets, Dragon will go down here. I think one of the things in top lane, especially in the LPL, that's prized right now is the ability to follow your jungler. And Rek'Sai, a jungler herself, very good in this situation.
Yeah, and I like that that's brought up. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of this. I like it when they do it with the Mundo because the cleavers and the Burning Agony just flies through the camps. You can do it so quickly. However, Rek'Sai, as you mentioned, with that bite, with all the AoE that comes through, really augments Nidalee's kit. And Nidalee, all of a sudden, has someone to heal that's not herself. that does a lot of AD damage.
Yeah, we've seen it with Diana as well. So teams, again, starting to adapt here, but Snake seem to have started a 4-man proxy fast push here, and you know King are going to take it. They've got the Nunu in, Minigun Jinx coming through, even the range Lulu and the Threshold is tower pushing. Going to take them a little while longer. They're actually going to wait for another wave, but towers are going to fall very quickly here. Uzi's almost finished the bottom side, and top side should fall shortly after.
Yeah, certainly should. They wanted another cannon creep wave. Uzi, on the other hand, is waiting for the wave to equalize. He's actually stacked it up now, so it will push back into his turret, meaning if they swap into the top lane, Going should have an easier time farming that wave in the 1v2.
Yeah, and that's something that's always impressed me about Uzi, despite how strong a laner he is. He's just got such good mechanics in any sort of lane swap.
Yeah, he certainly does, and understands exactly what his wave's going to do. So heads up play there. Loveling actually dragging the minion wave off the turret means that that turret's not going to go down. Early advantage by 1,000 gold and a dragon over to OMG. Really winning this one out.
And it's all little things, but you know, the early dragon, the jungle follow for Rek'Sai. Don't know if OMG exactly planned all of this, but they've adapted very well if they didn't. And all the while in the mid lane, we're seeing some farm happen, but understandably very... now trouble actually coming through for Cool as Lamb. Going to line up the hook. Will just miss there as Victor popped his ghost to get away.
Yeah, and didn't want to trade flashes. Actually think that's a miscall by Lamb, because if he had a flash, Cool would have had to burn both summoners. And we've seen Victor time and time again with no summoners, an absolute sitting duck in the mid lane.
Yeah, kind of like Cassiopeia, just dies so swiftly as now MLXG going to invade in onto the Nidalee. Loveling trying to get him out of the jungle, but there's too many King members here on this side. Loveling going to try and get some CS away, but Nunu going to steal it. Looks like we might even see a dive. The Gromp potentially going to get looked at as well, but going kind of afraid to go back to that turret.
Yeah, it certainly is. Has a very good CC in that knock-up, so looks a little bit more confident, but they're sending 3 members down in response. He's trying to get into experience range, maybe bait the dive out. Zone is in range, but the teleport coming through.
Yeah, pretty aggressive here by going, but he gets flayed out of it into the Chompers. Forced to flash there as MLXG going to get knocked up, but Loveling is jumping on Woosh going. Will fall down near to Jinx for first blood, but MLXG gets speared in the back and goes down for the trade. Now Loveling going to chase in there as well. Lulu actually gets a tower somewhere. I think in the bottom lane, they managed to get it. Lamb will dodge the next spear, and it's 2 for 1, sorry.
Yeah, so Lulu went down as an execute, so wasn't actually auto attack there, but tanked up a lot of turret aggro. And then the return kill came through for that jungle Nidalee. So what this is going to do is actually set Lulu very far behind. Is going to miss a huge wave, where he's got back there with the teleport extremely quickly, able to pick up all that farm. So you see straight away, Uzi shoving that wave in. We might even go for the zone here and try and keep Lulu away from that turret.
Yeah, Loveling actually aggressively pouncing, does take away the mini Krug there, and will walk out of the jungle with the help of Cloud. Uzi, like you mentioned, swap to the top side there as well. So going to start pushing in that turret. And Sky, level 3 to level 5, cannot stand in this lane.
Yeah, exactly right. And you see how relentless Uzi is, continuing to shove the wave and then harass under turret, of course. Lulu, not fantastic at choosing between farm and CS. Using mana, actually, right now to try and pick them up. So he's in a little bit of trouble, you feel, Sky, here.
Yeah, Uzi actually level 6 now as well. Might even fancy a dive if Cloud rotates in with him. Just going to use the Boomerang Blade. Good harass coming there as well. And when Uzi's playing this aggressively under your turret, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly right. They rotate MLXG one more time into the top lane to try and get something there. Trying to also pick up the Scuttle Crab in the river to maybe get some more vision of a potential dive that will come through from Loveling, but he wants none of it, just farming his jungle.
Yeah, and really should be farming here as well. Wants to get those items going. That's probably the weirdest thing about Jungle Nidalee is you actually do have fairly high item thresholds.
Yeah, exactly right, and you have to stack up that tier relatively early. We've seen kind of 2 trains of thoughts behind this. The North American one where you grab the roller and you're even further behind, but very strong late game, or the tier that comes through. And once again, Uzi equalizes the wave before taking down a turret, and now it will push back in his direction.
Yeah, really clever stuff, and you can see that translates to a nice CS lead here as well for Uzi, 68 to 54, and that would be abnormal, I think, in this matchup in a lot of cases, but they've dodged the lane this entire time.
Yeah, exactly right, and you know, the ability to tower dive really set Jinx a little bit far behind because it went so wrong. Wasn't able to stick around and push that turret. So all of a sudden, it's 2 turrets to 0. 1 kill apiece, so they're doing okay in that regard, but really suited OMG this early game.
And I think the other thing I like about all the fast pushing that's happening from both sides now actually is that Victor, stellar wave crew, and Ezreal without his ulti, not very good at counter pushing.
Yeah, exactly right. And when you sit these 2 mid laners head to head and give Victor a free lane, he really comes into his own at level 6, able to grab the blue even, although it was being invaded. And another thing I want to touch on about top Rek'Sai and why I think it's so good is because he has very good gank potential. And we haven't seen it this game, although going aggressive now for some reason.
Yeah, use the tunnel, gets the knocker, but eats the chompers, gets hooked as well, and the minigun just gonna shred him. Goodbye, going.
Yeah, you have to think that was maybe a misclick coming through there, trying to go for some CS, but the thing about top lane is they get denied so hard of resources. You see it's 23 to 25. Junglers at this point probably even stronger. So their ability to roam around and gank, although we didn't see it, does become extremely important. You have to say that Rek'Sai has the advantage over Lulu in that regard, but going has had a couple of deaths this game, got turret dove. That second one was just a little bit of sloppy play coming through, but he'll be fine in the late game.
Yeah, and he's actually walking back towards the top side of the map as well, so probably lands just fine here. Although a level behind Sky now. He's actually hit level 6 on the Lulu with a bit of spare time, but that wave is so far back towards King's tier 2 turret.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's not going anywhere. If you take a quick look over there, I think it is actually very firmly in their favor. They've got about 5 or 6 caster creeps, although now being pushed out a little bit by Sky.
Yeah, and going doing the right thing here, and actually just jungling. As Loveling will do the same on his Nidalee. Going to try and look for a second dragon here for OMG.
Yeah, ward in the back of the pit, so they might try and get a sneaky hook over here, but maybe not going to be able to steal it away.
Yeah, Lamb going to try something potentially, but no jungler in sight. That does throw the hook to entertain the steal, but Loveling's on top of the smite.
Yeah, able to pick that one up, of course. Quite similar to Lee Sin, that takedown does a lot of damage to neutrals if they are low health. We see the handoff of the blue buff coming through. MLXG might have a couple of points in that consume, actually, because healing up very well, actually maxing it equally to his snowball at the moment, has 2 points in there.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of different Nunu builds coming through as well. Beast and I think Clearlove love their max consume builds. Loveling and MLXG seem to favor sort of a balance. And there are some players that go max C and maybe even extra points for Blood Bowl. So it's kind of like team comp dependent, but Nunu very flexible. That's one of his biggest advantages.
Yeah, I guess it depends what you want to accomplish with your Nunu. One of the better strategies we've seen with Nunus is actually get 3 points in the Blood Boil before level 5, walk into an AD's lane and just push the turret with the Blood Boil because it's so strong. And then because he has the snowball, it's impossible to dive on top of him because he kind of laughs at you and walks away. So we've seen... Yeah, I completely agree that there's no right way to play Nunu. It's completely dependent on what you are hoping to accomplish in the early game.
So a bit of balanced stats there coming through early on. Actually, the Juggernaut done quite quickly there for MLXG as well. So very tanky on this Nunu and probably a Sightstone coming through. And Nunu's massive base stats mean that he's a very effective early game tank.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Nunu with Juggernaut and Sightstone is impossible to kill nearly. He's just so annoying and he runs around really quickly and does a lot of work in these early team fights. You have to say with a Sivir, such a short-range AD carry, if he's able to get any form of a flank and sit on top of the Sivir with that absolute zero, not going to go anywhere terrifically fast.
No, and maybe the scary thing to think is everyone's maybe prepping their Nunu for 5.5 when it changes over, because remember, Nunu probably going to get even stronger on that patch.
Yeah, exactly right. We've seen a couple of games on 5.5, and I actually think that Nunu is heads and shoulders the strongest jungler on the patch. He just does so many good things for your team, and with all the extra health coming through, with the ability to go into that Righteous Glory, even as a jungler, because it's bumped up. Ooh, bit of a gank in the top lane.
Yeah, good going. Will avoid the good lance there. Actually does eat it, but not too worried. Actually pretty tanky, going for, like you mentioned, a very aggressive build on the top.
Yeah, so able to go across there looking for the Ravenous Hydra. Potentially looking for some flat pen and maybe an assassination build, but I would not be surprised if it is the Ravenous Hydra. Just split pushes extremely well, uses that ultimate late game to get to every single engage needs to.
And I like that element of OMG's comp. If going is off split pushing, he draws attention, he can get almost anywhere if he's got a good tunnel network set up, although we have a gank here coming through. Lulu in a whole host of trouble is cool. He's going to move forward. Skywall flash, Wild Growth pop there is over. Too much damage coming in, and Cool claims the kill.
And there's no wards and Cool ghosts in. You have to assume there's more people going. Really have to question the use of the flash as well as a wild growth there. Just die. Like, you've been caught out. You've overextended in a pretty silly situation. Don't give them anything more away than what you have to. Of course, flash is on such a long cooldown when you compare it to something like Ghost. And in a split push where Going now starting to level up and become even stronger, you need to have all your tools available to be able to survive any 1v1 pressure he's going to put out. Yeah,
and like you mentioned, I actually love this element of OMG's comp. We've got the split push party, but there's plenty of good siege and poke and lots of good rotational play as well from the 4 members left on OMG's side.
Yeah, and that's why I really like, as we have Wushin rotating into the lane, Wush actually missing that because of a well-timed minion wave that Going had prepped earlier. But I like Victor Nidalee together for that exact reason. Victor is surprisingly good at wave clear as well as poke because of how long that death ray is. And then Nidalee can just throw through all the spears. The gravity field, great zoning tool, hard to engage onto Victor because of the burst damage. Really rate it as a quasi-siege composition coming through.
Yeah, it's still weird that Cloud, is on Sona instead of Janna. Maybe wants a bit more aggressive tool for his ultimate there. Janna, of course, pretty much only disengaged. Cloud does have, I guess, the flexibility there, but been looking good so far. Extra stats, not bad in the push as well, but Whoosh is starting to split push in the top side.
Yeah, and they've really got that turret low and had to take it down eventually. They're only about 1,600 gold behind, so equalized turrets at this point. Kills are perfectly equal. Really only a discrepancy in the bottom lane where there's about 18 CS. But even then, Uzi's behind actually, so yeah, completely even across the map.
Yeah, the 2 kills there for Whoosh, giving him a bit of extra gold here. Uzi had his Infinity Edge first, was using it to rotate around, now starting to push down, just with Cloud actually in the empty lane. So looking to get that Sivir wave cleared down, but next Dragon going to come up in a minute 20. A very chaotic first 15 minutes.
Yeah, it certainly is, and at this point in the game, you would think that maybe Lulu a little bit more useful in a team fight than what Rek'Sai will be, so you might even give the next Dragon across to King, but we'll see, because I don't think either team wants to outright fight here. On the side of OMG, they want to split push, cause some pressure, poke around with their Nidalee, who just got caught.
Yeah, Loveling does need a hook there now, but oh my god, cool. Just unleashes the death ray on the Chaos Storm, and that's a dead support.
Yeah, it certainly is, and is that a fully upgraded already? Just all the evolutions coming through.
Yep, Cool knows what he likes. He likes Glorious Evolution here as Cool. Level 11 with the blue buff as well, just ripping through Paul Layham, who's pretty squishy on the Thresh at this point, despite the Ruby Crystal and the shield there in his inventory. And that might actually give OMG the next Dragon going, even doing some counter jungling now.
Yeah, of course, Rek'Sai, jungler in his own right, flying through it. And wow, that damage. Assassin just took a death ray and is at 3/4 health.
Yeah, Cool doing a lot of work right now. Blue buff going to go over to, I think Lovely might have got it, or Cool might have gotten a refresh there. Nope, never mind. Rek'Sai actually has it. So nice work there from going, continuing to deny resources.
Yeah, so able to pick that one off. Unfortunately, Loveling won't have that for any poke, but 10 seconds on the Dragon. Looks like they've secured this one. Teleport as well as Rek'Sai Ultimate, both available. So even though going nowhere near his team, is everywhere at once.
Yeah, can just always get to the tunnel with his ulti, which he does have available. Uzi actually went back to shop, has a Zeal now for this fight as well, so took a little bit of a risk there, kind of going back. Loveling actually going to trade poke there, and is winning the poke war with Assassin with that Magus enchant already done. I mean, this is pretty much what OMG's comp does. King has some decent poke there as well, but for me, this game is all about who can apply more pressure to these turrets.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that that's where OMG's team really shines. So I'm interested to see why King elected into a similar composition, because OMG have everything they do, except a little bit better in the top lane, of course. Lulu really is going to be relegated to just clearing waves against this Rek'Sai, who will just get bigger and bigger as the game goes on. We see how good Rek'Sai is in team fights with no resources as a jungler. Throw in a top lane Rek'Sai who's been given the luxury of split pushing past maybe the 6-minute mark. It's going to be very scary.
Yeah, and OMG are bouncing back and forth between their mid lane and the Dragon. King are trying to pressure them off the Dragon by taking the turret, but OMG are just popping back in, and that Victor perfect hex core wave clear is just silly.
Yeah, it's very good at this point in the game, and you see King looking to challenge this one, going extremely low. They might go in.
Dragon going in, MLXG will steal the wave, but Loveling wants a kill out of it. Crescendo coming there, a great flank from Cloud, and Cool gets the first kill onto Lulu. MLXG pops the ulti and gets very low, but now they're going to chase in the Chaos Storm. Still moving through, Flash double knock up there, but he does die in the process. Whoosh, though, going to get zapped down by Victor as Cool gets a double kill. Assassin going to go in there, make it a triple for Victor, and all in all, a 4-for-1 for OMG.
And you have to compliment Cool on his positioning there. Didn't walk towards the gap where he would have taken so much upfront damage. Instead, fights over the ridge, and Cool's terrain control has always been fantastic, but just showing it to the absolute T in that team fight.
And I have to credit Cloud there as well for a very strong supporting performance. Flash, ulted, and flanked as a Sona. You can't do that sort of stuff as John. And you can see why Cloud favors, again, more aggressive style supports.
Yeah, exactly. And 0, 0, and 6, having a very good performance is Cloud. We said he's been a little bit hit and miss. Looks like this is going to be one of the games where he's hitting very hard.
Yeah, just, maybe stop playing the Janna. Sona, obviously the answer here is he's looked great on it so far. Everyone else powering up as well. Rek'Sai now with Mercury Treads going as also back towards the top side, looking to continue to split push 95 to 76, so 20 CS ahead of Sky. Not surprising given how much free time he has in these lanes, and Rek'Sai is only going to get stronger, and so is Cool, who's now got a needlessly large rod.
Yeah, so Cool really powering up now, not even finishing that Morella Nomicon. Of course, when you have that 1,600 gold, it is so hard to not purchase the rod.
Yeah, and Cool, makes the selfish choice there, but lots of flat damage already already on top of that upgraded Hex Core that he's had for quite a while here. 5-0-1, the Victor. We've seen what damage he does to everyone, and it's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of upfront burst and persistent damage that can come through from the Victor. Does everything relatively well except for survive ganks in the early game, and that wasn't a problem because of the lane swap. So really like the composition OMG have put together here. Going's gone full jungle mode. Looks like he's going to pick up an Aegis maybe even in the top lane. But across the board, King really need to regroup now. That last team fight was a complete nightmare for them. They've fallen a little bit further behind. MLXG is having a good performance. 1, 2, and 2 on the Nunu has been quite frustrating to deal with. But Whoosh and Ezreal, they need to start getting their second items and getting going with this double AD comp.
Yeah, and it's really reflected in the gold lead here. OMG up 5,000 gold. They have 2 dragons to 1, so MLXG did take away the first one for King, which is always nice to have, but pretty good gold values between the teams, and OMG continuing to just run King around the map.
Yeah, they certainly are. Whoosh has picked up his 2-item spike now, has got that static shift coming through. Trinity Force to follow quite soon for Ezreal, and ooh, Spear just missing in the bottom lane. You see the pressure that Going's already putting out across the map.
Yeah, I mean, just putting tunnels everywhere, continuing to push around, keep that pushed in permanently. Cool's actually down in the bottom side now as Victor, so going to split push as the mid laner. And again, we're going to continually see this from OMG this game. You have to think one person's going to be in a side lane and the other 4 are going to be grouped together.
Yeah, exactly right. And one thing I want to mention this game is we've seen that maybe Uzi has taken the mid-game power spike role where he's not grabbing as much farm as he used to be. And Going was getting some of it. This time they've completely swapped it around. Going is a person that maybe is backing away from lanes and letting Cool take all that solo experience. And Uzi is doing terrifically 40, 50 CS nearly above his direct lane opponent. So OMG showing some flexibility maybe at this point in the season that, hey, we don't need Going to be that carry. He can play a backseat role and really utilize him more as a, I guess, annoyance across the map than anything else.
And that was the big question for OMG, even before the season started, is, you know, how are you going to get gold? Because you have so many carries, and they showed at least early in the season they could realistically farm everyone up, but that's very snowball reliant. It was very difficult to pull off, had a high margin for error, because pretty much you messed up once and your strategy fell to pieces. OMG have certainly adapted a lot more, and this game in particular looked completely in control.
Yeah, so I'm impressed by what OMG is bringing to the table so far. They seem to understand exactly what their composition's win condition is. Pretty mid-game reliant, but will scale up quite nicely. And you see Cool continuing to put this split push pressure out, actually drawing 4 members down here. And in the mid lane, Rek'Sai now rotating over.
Yeah, and again, OMG just sticking his 4 and leaving someone else in a side lane. This time it's going to be Going. He's 2 levels up on Sky. Just shreds through him there with that Tiamat. And Sky maybe doesn't like that very much.
Yeah, as soon as you have that full rage bar, the bite just does so much damage coming through, not being mitigated from anything. And not even an arm guard being picked up as Assassin nearly takes the spear. You would have thought that would be the go button.
Oh man, there's the go button. Flash ulti there. Lamb is going to get destroyed by the Chaos Stormers. MLXG going to get jumped on as well. Cloud tanking turret very nicely as Cool. Chasing down someone, just missing the death over. Finds the Q and gets him in the back with the Ghost running. Now Rek'Sai taking out the turret in the mid. Cool will join him to take it out himself. And Cloud so decisive with those ultimates.
That was a play out of Cloud. 3-man flash crescendo coming through. Secures his team a couple of kills, but more importantly, 2 Tier 2 turrets at this point in the game, only 23 minutes in, and they're in on the base now. Whoosh getting chunked out. OMG really clicking.
Yeah, and Going, tanking up a bit of tower aggro. Death Ray coming through for a bit of extra poke, and OMG probably going to have to back off now. Everyone else is back. Here is Lamb, might look for a hook to engage, but Spear's going to fly back as they run away, and King just have to try and clear out some wards and push the waves out.
Yeah, exactly right. And at this point in the game, their double AD should be at its strongest. 23 minutes, that's when it really is clicking. Not really any super tanks coming through, but they haven't been able to get any fights on their conditions. OMG really forcing means an 8,000 gold advantage. Nearly 9, actually, and really not much else to say about it. A lot on the back of the support as well, you'd have to think.
Yeah, and I love that you highlight that OMG have looked strategically sound in the last few weeks. Again, had to pick themselves up, really sort of think about what do we want to be doing, how do we want to play. They've got plenty of superstar players, but for me, OMG's recent victories have been about strategically outplaying their opponents, and that was not true for OMG in the first 3-4 weeks of the LPL.
Well, that was a huge question. No one, on paper, this is the best team in the world. They are so mechanically skilled on paper. There is no one that will go head-to-head with these guys 1v1 across the board. Even Cloud, as far as the support goes, is a fantastic mechanical support as Going continuing this obnoxious split push with teleport up.
MLXG going to pop his ulti. Scuttercrab actually going to get hunted. Lamb taking way too much damage, and now they dive in. Cool going to chase him down with a Chaos Storm. Loveling nails him with a Spear Go going. Has ported back down. Gets a knock up there, and Ezreal going to go down. Sky getting chunked as well. Loveling so low on health, and Woosh actually flashes forward aggressively, but it's going to cost him his life. Loveling another Spear for the double. Sky going to make it 3 as the takedown moves in for the triple.
That's the ace coming through, and once again, OMG recognizing they have the split push advantage. No one can push going off now that he's got that Spirit Visage coming through, and overall, King tried to force. OMG made him pay.
Yeah, and King decided, you know what, probably not winning after that here. 13,000 gold behind, and they'll surrender the game in under 25 minutes. And Assassin looking a little somber there, thinking, I like Ezreal. What happened?
Yeah, and 0-1-1 just didn't have an impact on the game. Fell way too far behind. In fact, nearly 4,000 gold at the end of the game. He needs to maybe look at exactly what went on there, but across the board, outclassed is the word that I'm going to use for it. OMG looked a much better team.
Yeah, you can see Loveling, they're pretty happy with that Nidalee performance. I would be too. Makes me question why they gave it to Spirit in their series against World Elite yesterday, and Spirit crushed them with it in that first game. OMG, sometimes they do weird stuff and they lose games that it seems that they have no right losing. But when they win, man, do they look good recently.
And this is the thing that people need to start looking at. OMG aren't showing the same weaknesses that they were at the beginning of the season. Coming into the business end, they really are performing brilliantly. That's another thing. Going, completely different champ. Didn't look like he had any troubles.
No, and I think that's the really scary thing is that OMG clearly tinkered some things around, trying to figure out, what's our best composition as far as rosters go. We have a big roster. Who do we want to bring on? Is Sun the answer? Can Uzi play, a bit more Sun-esque? And he has been. OMG have been changing a lot of things, even if their rosters stay quite solid since the last few series of changes they've made. And that's the scary thing, because a team that's this flexible coming into playoffs is just terrifying to have to play against.
Exactly right, and they had multiple win conditions coming into that. Good team fight composition, fantastic split push, a lot of CC, high damage. It was just across the board a very good performance.
Yeah, Uzi kind of chilling out at the end. I think he was browsing like Weibo or something. He was hanging out. Very easy game for him. We'll see if OMG can replicate their success. Second game between OMG and King is coming right up.